it's fantastic that you have done this and you've come together, and that all of the leading national environmental NGOs in the country have seen the value of coming together. And to me, I can see huge benefit from this. You know, I think the main one is the networking, because by all of the organisations having that ability to kind of network in so many areas, because what's really good about the national groups is that they're all targeting specific areas, whether it's to do with climate change issues or to do with biodiversity, or so many issues that environmental groups are involved in. But they're all in their own kind of areas, you know, quite separate from the others. And of course, environment needs to be integrated across all sectors, and both economic, social and environment all together under a common interest to go forward. And of course, this now is the platform for environment groups to, first of all, to inform each other, to benefit from each other's knowledge and expertise in their specific areas of expertise within those groups, to kind of use that to kind of develop common interests where you can move forward. I believe there's one group set up now, WEB, which is a cluster of environmental groups that have common interest in a certain area, and that they can share their knowledge in that area and develop a common way of moving forward on that in projecting their own areas. So with that, I think it's like, for example, looking, somebody mentioned there, a jigsaw of, I think it was David just mentioned there, that the concept of that environment groups are all part of a jigsaw in the overall picture, and without all of these pieces, we don't have a full feeling of what the environment is and where we're going into the future. And there's a huge role now for environmental groups to get involved with involving at the lobbying level, at government level, in other words, getting messages across in a very coordinated way. And we've got Noel here from CORE, and obviously people like Noel, you know, sees the value of this and sees that if we can come together and have common objectives in what we need to get across and filter that across the country into all of the grassroots groups around the country, so that we can get common policies out there developed, so that strategies are put in place and that government take this seriously. And I think social partnership is part of this. I think environmental groups now recognise the value of them participating in national social partnerships. And this could be very important, because if we're there at the table negotiating on issues where environment, all sustainability has to take environment very seriously now, and there's so many issues that need to be brought to the table at those negotiations concerning environment, anything from climate change to biodiversity to water issues in the country, etc. We have major challenges facing us, and a lot of these are very strategic issues that need long-term planning and long-term objectives and strategies. So we need to be at the table. There needs to be the presence of environment clearly there at these negotiations. No longer can we treat the country's future as economic on its own. Economic development obviously recognises the social partnership, and social issues have now been kind of accommodated at the negotiations. But environment, the third leg of the table, has to be there as a centrepiece too. And this is the opportunity, because if these groups here, all of you together, can form a coordinating body, a network that will, if you like, have a very clear objective of what you believe the environmental message has got to be, and you coordinate that in a very coherent way and in a very agreed way across all sectors, and with the benefit of that huge number of members and out there, grassroots at all levels, it could have a major influence. But up to now, that hasn't happened, and environment has suffered because of the fragmentation that has been there in the past. You know, so many groups out there involved in their own areas, very, very dedicated to their own one area of environment. But unless we pull together and, if you like, have the strength of numbers and bring that back down to grassroots in every constituency in the country, we won't have that lever that we need. And I think that's what's going to come out of this. And I believe that this is the platform. And on World Earth Day, no better time for launching this whole concept. And I believe that there's a new name now coming here for the Irish National Network, I believe, is being proposed today as the name for this organisation. I gather that has to be ratified by all the groups here today, but it does need a name and it needs a strong image out there. and it needs the full backing and the mandate from all of the groups. And that mandate is needs to be very clearly defined. You know, very clearly a mission statement of what the organisation is about and what its clear objectives are and its major objectives are. So I'm not going to bore you because there's a lot of people here going to talk about areas that are of interest. My only role here in this really is to try and bring messages across to the ordinary people of Ireland through television. That's my small role. And you know, I want to try and make sure that environmental groups in the country, their messages can get out in through television. You know, so I have a programme called EcoEye, and I do want to make sure that those groups that have very clear messages to bring out, that we do represent you and that we do bring it into my programme so that those messages are brought out to the wider audience in Ireland. So I won't bore you with this because I know Danny's got lots to say here, and thank you for all coming here today and on Earth Day and making this occasion happen. And I believe it is a landmark for environment for the future of Ireland, which is under such huge pressure. So thanks.